So, did I read some good books in September? Well, the short answer is yes, I did. What's up guys, welcome back to Unlimited Reads. My name is Chris and today I'll be doing my wrap up for September where I managed to read 6 books, and stick around because I'll also of course be revealing my book of the month, and I'll also be chatting a little bit about my reading plans for October that I'd like to share with you. So let's start with the books that I did read. Now the first book I finished was Cobalt Blue by Matthew Reilly, who does happen to be my favourite Australian author. It's a book about superheroes. It's 202 pages long, so you can read it in 1 or 2 sittings if you wish. I read it in 2 sittings myself and I thought it was a really fun ride. It's full of violence and action. The scenes just go by really quickly because of his fast narration. And the story's about America's superhero Cobalt, who for years has been the protector of the USA, and of course Russia have their own superhero called the Fury. Now when Cobalt dies, Fury just wants to wipe America off the map. So it's up to Cobalt's family of superheroes to try and stop that. And with everything that happens in the book that I'm not going to spoil here, a hero definitely rises towards the end in a brilliant finish that Matthew Reilly is renowned for. So I really enjoyed that one. It was a really quick, enjoyable read. The next book I read was Stephen King's new book called Fairy Tale, about how a young boy finds a portal to another world. I reviewed that in a bit of detail on the channel. If you haven't caught that video, by all means take a look. I go into a bit of depth of what I liked about the book, what I didn't like about the book. I just found the first half of the book was better than the second half of the book when he's actually in that other world. But the writing overall was great. Stephen King is still the master. I think he writes small town America brilliantly, and the characters, I just had an instant rapport with Charlie, the main character, and just really enjoyed it overall. I did nitpick it about a couple of things. There were a couple of negatives, but overall the book was great and I really enjoyed it. The next book I read was Tom Clancy's 0 Hour, written by Don Bentley, who was a fairly new contributor to the Jack Ryan and Jack Ryan Jr. universe. He's not quite as good as someone like Mark Greaney, who was my favourite contributor of the series, but I think with a bit more work, I think he could be good, but he just didn't write Jack Ryan Jr. as well as someone like Mark Greaney or Mark Cameron, who is another recent contributor to the series. But it was okay. The story was alright, where Jack Ryan Jr. has to stop an all-out nuclear war and stop North Korea from invading South Korea. It was actually a pretty interesting plot, but as I said, I don't think Don Bentley gets Jack Ryan Jr. as much as some of the other series contributors, but still wasn't a bad read at all. And there is another book coming out towards the end of the year which I'm eagerly awaiting. I mentioned my excitement in a previous video. It's called Red Winter, and it's actually a Jack Ryan Sr. prequel novel, which it's going to be exciting to read about the exploits of young Jack Ryan before he went on to become Deputy Director of the CIA, National Security Advisor, before finally settling into the role of President of the United States. So can't wait for that. The next book I read is where I took a trip back down my childhood memory lane and read Danny, Champion of the World by Roald Dahl. This was one I just wanted to squeeze in because I have been feeling pretty nostalgic lately. I hadn't read the book since about 1985, and I remember how sleeping powder was put into raisins to poach the pheasants, but as to other things that went on, I'd completely forgotten about it. But I found the whole book just brilliant, read it in a single afternoon, and forgot how much I actually enjoyed Roald Dahl's books, so much so that I think I'll be going back and revisiting some of his very famous books in the future. So that was a really good quick read. Highly recommend that one if you haven't read it. The next book I read, I'll mention this one with a sigh of relief. I read The Big Dark Sky by Dean Koontz, which is his latest book that has been released recently. I've made it known on the channel that his last book, called Quicksilver, is one I hated. I don't really, that's a pretty strong word to use. I'll say disliked it a lot, because I felt cheated by the end. There was all this build up and it was a pathetic climax. But this one, The Big Dark Sky, was better. It had a really good ending. It's about how a madman is writing a manifesto, and he plans on ridding the world of the human race. He has this warped view that the world shouldn't have humans in it. Now throw into the mix strange happenings and how people are drawn to a ranch in Montana for an ultimate confrontation with this unknown evil. It was really interesting. It put my faith back in Dean Koontz as a writer. You know, Quicksilver, if you've read the book, you'll probably know what I mean, but I found The Big Dark Sky quite a good read, and I won't review that on the channel, but if you haven't picked it up, I certainly recommend reading that one. And now we come to my book of the month, which is no surprise here for me, and there is only one clear winner, and that was Blue World by Robert McCammon. This was his short story collection, which I found absolutely brilliant. I have reviewed the book on the channel. If you haven't caught that one, please do. I go into a fair bit of detail on what stories I like the best, which stories fell a little bit short for me, but I discuss in a little bit of detail the highlights, the standouts for me, and the clear best story in the book was the title story, Blue World, which was a novella, which was about 220 pages, but the characterization, the writing itself is just brilliant. Robert McCammon just has such a gift for the written word that you can fall under his spell immediately. As soon as you read the first couple of lines of a story, you're drawn in straight away, and I devoured the stories. Absolutely loved the novella Blue World, about how a good Catholic priest falls in love and becomes infatuated with a porn star. The best thing about the story was, yeah, you have two stereotypes. You've got the Catholic priest and the porn star. By the end of the book, or the story, this is a classic example of how characters evolve and grow over the course of a story. By the end of the story, both characters are starkly different from when they started out at the beginning of the story. You look at the porn star and you automatically think, you know, we have preconceived notions of what they're like, but she had a lot of layers that get peeled back in expert detail, and you get to see the real person behind the porn star image. And if you haven't read this collection, I strongly urge you to read it. If you haven't caught my review, it's on the channel. Go for it, have a bit of a look at that. But if you like good short story collections, this one is not going to be a disappointment. I highly recommend it. Really good stuff. So let's talk about some reading plans for October that I want to share with you. Now, normally I don't do TBR videos anymore with what I am going to read the following month. I like to fly by the seat of my pants a little bit, have a bit of spontaneity there. But for October, I've got a fair idea on what I want to get through. Now, the first book I want to talk about is a book I started towards the end of September and haven't finished it yet, so I haven't included it in the wrap-up, and that is Lightning by Dean Koontz, which is my favourite book that he has ever written. It's my third time reading it, and I've got about 60 pages to go at the time of filming this video. I plan on finishing it tonight so that I can start something else. I will be reviewing the book on this channel, so watch for that coming out midweek. I'm going to put that out, and it's just a brilliant book. There's a very, very good a number of different reasons why it is my favourite Dean Koontz book of all time. So I'll be sharing that with you next week, so stay tuned for that one. The next book I've got lined up for October is Double or Nothing by Sherwood. She has been selected by the Fleming estate to start a trilogy of James Bond novels. Now, what makes this interesting is it's set in the James Bond universe, and in this book, James Bond has gone missing, and it's up to 3 00 agents to get to the bottom of what's happened. So I'm really looking forward to that one, and I have locked it in. So the next book I'm going to read for October, and one I'm committing to this time, is Lonesome Dove by Larry McMurtry. This is my first foray into the Western genre. I'm really looking forward to it now. I'm in the right headspace to actually give it a go. I'm actually going to be doing a reading vlog for Lonesome Dove on the channel. So what I'll be doing is a series of videos. I'm not sure how many videos at this point, but I will be sharing with you my thoughts and reactions as I go through the book. I haven't done a reading vlog for a little while, and they tend to be fairly popular on the channel, and really looking forward to it now. When I wanted to start it, I think it was back in July, I got intimidated by the length of the book, but because I've cleared my plate in recent weeks of stacks of books, I think I'm finally ready for it. So I'm really looking forward to it. It's ranked the #1 Western book on Goodreads, and I'm really looking forward to diving in. Now, it might take me most of October to read it, but you know, I'm willing to use a lot of October to actually get through it, because as I said, my proverbial reading plate is clearing up quite nicely towards the end of the year. So I'll be sharing that with you all on the channel, so watch out for that. Now, if I get time in October, I'm actually going to squeeze in a manga title. For me, this is unheard of. I haven't really had much to do with manga. I haven't really read it before, but just doing a little bit of searching on the internet, something really grabbed me, and I'm going to reveal what that is when I get the order from the post next week. I'll do an unwrapping video on it, or I'll do a unwrapping on camera in next week's weekly update. It's a really thick manga title. It's an omnibus edition of three volumes of this title, which I won't reveal now. I'll save it as a surprise, but you know, I just wanted the challenge of reading from right to left, which seems like a strange thing to me, and I'm very green when it comes to manga, but it's just one other aspect of my reading that I want to learn about and sample for myself. So I'm definitely looking forward to receiving that in the post next week, and I'll be of course sharing that with you all. So there you go, guys, that is my wrap up for October done. Thank you very much for watching. Please don't forget to like and subscribe. As always, please offer any feedback in the comments below, and let me know what your favorite book was for October. I'm always interested in that, and always up for a chat. But until next time, guys, see you later.